That was because I started recording on there. White chocolate. Oh,
I don't even like white chocolate, but I kind of dig these.
nice.
Have you ever had one of those chocolate oranges, man?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're like my favorite. That's my favorite chocolate, I think.
Nice. Nice.
And
Very
these
good.
kind of like hit on that a little bit. Now, if this is
Really.
like some milk chocolate
Mm-hmm.
with that little bit of orange,
Mm-hmm.
just chef kiss perfection. But like,
Nice.
I'll tolerate this.
I guess this is what I
I
have.
mean, that and I just like creamsicles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that vanilla orange Coke is like,
Didn't know that was a thing.
oh yeah, vanilla and orange like cream soda Coke. It's like not cream soda, but it's like a dreamsicle,
Yeah. Yeah.
creamsicle like
It makes
Coke.
sense when you put it that way. It makes sense.
I think it's like some people are like, oh, this is gross, and I'm like, oh no, this is kind of like my jam. Like I kind of vibe on this. Like
Actually, kind of awesome.
this is
You
kind
just
of
don't know.
rad. It's just you're dumb. You don't know what's good.
No, you don't know. This is delicious.
This is my jam.
That's my jam. Scrubs. Um. Don't
So you
cough in the
haven't
mic.
watched
Probably not.
WandaVision, bro?
No, I haven't. There's
Uh,
there's a lot of there's a lot of stuff I need to actually watch.
Here's the thing: don't binge it.
Uh, don't.
Don't,
Why is
don't,
that? Are
because
all the episodes like very different?
I think it hits better when you give each episode some time.
Okay.
Like you could probably binge like the first two or three,
Okay.
but I would even recommend against doing that because I think if, like, honestly, I was listening to some Easy Allies, their spoiler
Mm-hmm.
cast of it, but
Okay.
then, and somebody brought this up.
Excuse me.
I think just the way that the story unfolds, it gives you some time to process everything.
Okay.
And like, so like, if you're just binging it, like, I think you're actually going to sort of like gut the story a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But if you sit on an episode and like you watch it sort of like week by week, or even like give it a few days,
Mm-hmm.
like it's going to sit different. Like, because then you have time to like sort of process everything that the episodes are sort of like revealing and everything. And it's just
Okay.
like it, it's legit. It actually like made me really excited for like um I'll be honest, I thought the last episode was kind of like it kind of like
Okay.
didn't quite stick the landing. It was good. It was good. Like, but there's like it feels like if they would have given just like an episode, been given like an episode or two more to sort of like really, because there's like all sorts of like weird threads that they're like trying to sort of bring together at the
Okay.
end. Anyways, WandaVision has me really like really pumped for the Doctor Strange movie because I'm
Gotcha.
pretty sure that the stuff from WandaVision is gonna like come like feed into that.
Okay.
Um, it also just has me like really jazzed about like Captain Falcon or Falcon and the Winter Soldier or whatever.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay. Hmm.
like not because they're good. Like I think they're gonna be two wildly different things,
Yeah.
but what I'm gonna say is like WandaVision is good enough that like I'm kind of like, yo, I think these fools can like run a miniseries
Mm-hmm.
and do it well. Like WandaVision is top shelf. Now, like if Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a Winter Soldier, whatever that word,
Mm-hmm.
Winter Soldier is doo doo. It's doo doo.
Mm-hmm.
But WandaVision is a real strong start. I'm just saying.
Okay. Okay. Does it does it
I got like 5 orange ones on this one. Sorry, dude.
ooh
I got to put
is
some of
it
those back.
going to continue? Or was it just like a straight no, this is the story that they told and now it's over kind of a thing?
You got to watch.
Okay.
Like
Okay. Cool.
I like because
Cool.
like dude, I think like legitimately even that's too big a spoiler.
Okay. Yeah, it's just
Like
the way that you said it like ties up these and the different storylines. I just wasn't sure if that means like okay, so there's one that comes out of it or it's like no, this is just a
well,
self-contained kind of like movie, which is cool too. I like miniseries. Um,
Okay, so like
I was
there's
just curious.
stuff where they and it's kind of frustrating as like there's stuff that they sort of like give nods to,
Right.
but it's very much like this stuff's going to pop up later,
Yeah.
but we're done dealing with it right here.
Hmm.
Where I feel like they could have fleshed some of that off and still handed off that, but you'd have a better feeling about certain plot points and character development,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Cool.
but
Cool. Um. Yeah. I don't know. That might be. It might have to be something that I watch by myself. Because I don't know how interested Samantha. In general, she's pretty lukewarm to superhero stuff. Now she likes the every once in a while there's something. She likes the really good ones. Um, you know, she also likes the funny ones. So the last Thor movie she really liked. Um, stuff like that. But by and large, like, oh, it's a superhero movie. Okay, whatever. Like that doesn't excite her at all.
it's kind of like a
So I
pass.
don't know. Yeah, yeah, I don't know if she'd start this. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we never finished what the second season of oh come on, the other comic book show that we were talking about, the My Chemical Romance one. Um,
Oh,
I don't
Umbrella
remember.
Academy.
Umbrella Academy. There you go.
Yeah.
We still never finished out that
Dude,
season,
I'll be honest, man.
which
The
is
first
good.
season
It's
kind of
good.
like was like okay, but
Okay.
and it ended pretty good.
Hmm.
It just didn't have like the chops, man. Like
It
like they
roped
were
me
just
in.
jacked up. They were just a bunch of
Yes.
like jacked up kids, which is like,
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of the whole point.
and that's like, and I read the book. Like I had
Oh,
the
okay.
first,
Okay.
I owned the first uh issue of the Umbrella Academy stuff,
Gotcha.
but I was just kind of like,
Me. Okay.
I don't know, man. It was like fine, but like the second one, and maybe someday I'll go back to that. But
Yeah.
there's some weird mouth noises for you guys.
There you go.
Somebody is just like freaking out, ripping off their headphones right now. Just
Why?
why? Why would you do that, Nate? Because
I
I'm a
mean that.
jerk.
Yeah, that's a good question. Why would you do that? I can't answer that in good conscience.
Because I'm a horrible person. I just like spreading my pain around, just like sort of poisoning the well for everything. Um, do you want to do that intro bit?
Sure.
I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of funny, dude.
Yeah. I was literally, that's why I was looking down at my phone as I was pulling up
Okay.
the script. Um, are we saying the last line together?
I mean,
Backlog breakdown powers activate.
we could. I mean, even if we don't say it perfectly,
Yeah, we can line it up in post if I need to.
anyways.
Cool.
But yeah. No, WandaVision is pretty dope, dude.
Okay.
I think like the storytelling in it is like, well, and that's like Megan and I went back and we rewatched the original Thor,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that was like kind of a turd. But then I
Mm-hmm.
watched it and I was just like, oh, this is all right. It's like a dumb like popcorn flick. It's
Yeah.
like it's not great,
Yes. It's very
but
average, I
but it's
thought.
fun. It was
Yeah.
fun though. It wasn't like I didn't hate it. It
Mm-hmm.
just was like this is like campy dumb fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Like those are like the Thor movies outside of Ragnarok are the weakest link in all of that
Mm.
stuff. Outside of maybe, I'll be
Hulk.
honest, but his movies aren't even included in the lineup. Like I know that
Yeah.
they're part of
Right.
the universe. Now I'll tell you what, if they would have like, don't get me wrong, I like Mark Ruffalo, but if they would have pulled Ed Norton for that, I'd have been like, you the real MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That would have been interesting, yeah.
I think
But
him as Bruce would have been pretty pretty ballsy move.
yeah.
Uh,
But you were saying what you were talking about some other movies. You were saying the weakest link was Thor. And
oh
then
no! Oh, I think like the original Captain America movie is pretty bad. The first event,
really
the
like
first
worse than Thor.
Yeah, I don't
Hmm.
I don't think it's good.
Hmm.
I think I think it's like OG Thor and like I don't know. I'd have to go back, but I just remember like watching the Captain America movie and just being like, it's like fine.
Mhm.
It's like a good story, and it's like I like the plot beats better
Mhm.
on that one. Like that, it's the story that appeals to me a little bit more than like the Thor stuff did. But
Right.
I honestly thought it was pretty weak. I
Okay.
thought Winter Soldier was a better Captain.
Oh yeah.
I thought like First Avenger and actually Dark World is pretty like Thor Dark World. Like
Mhm.
so
I've
the
never
two
seen that
Thor
one.
movies and the first two Thor movies and the first Captain America movie, in my opinion, are kind of the weakest.
Okay.
And that is including and the one that comes right after that. And this is like not saying because they're all good. They're all
Right.
like but like it's like then you have like I honestly think Captain Marvel
Oh yeah, I never saw that.
comes in right after those ones as being
She just
like
seemed
stinkers.
insufferable.
Well,
So
and this is
sorry.
how much of it is like this is a question I have though, and it's brought about by the Easy Ally stuff. And I know we're sort of sidetracking here, but we have an episode to record. But how much of that do you think was Brie Larson versus the direction she was
Mhm.
given? Like how much of that was they were like, oh, you need to play her as like a stoic tough guy, like
Mhm.
whereas she might have brought like a little more life to that character than
Yeah, I don't know because before that and all the press and whatever, all the marketing stuff came out before that movie. The only thing that I recognized Brie Larson outside of her role in Scott Pilgrim, was that movie Room, and she's fantastic in that movie. Uh,
yeah. Well, and it's like
it's a
so
very different character. It's not a happy character. So I
I
mean like I've
watched
never seen her do that, but like
I watched like now it's not like awesome acting, but she has a couple cameos in Community,
okay.
and she's got like some chops in that.
Mhm.
Like it's very
Mhm.
early on, but like there's some chops there. Like no, she just like she's sort of she was a recurring character for a few episodes,
Gotcha.
and I was like, some like she was like kind of played this like, and I just was like, anyways, and I've watched a little bit of stuff that she's in, and I'm like,
Mhm.
she's not like some amazing actress that's just gonna like
Mhm.
like chew up the screen like the she's just like she's just not awesome, but
Yeah.
she's not bad.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of that stuff's around
N
like, and her movie is pretty weak just because like I feel like they don't give. I think honestly, her character would have been better served with like another movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's too little too no, there's a number of issues that I have with her. And again, I haven't even seen the movie. Like, and when I said insufferable, I didn't mean like Brie Larson in particular. Now, I've seen things where I think she is,
oh no,
but
no,
I
no,
didn't mean
yeah,
like
yeah,
her in
yeah,
particular. I meant like the character that they made of Captain Marvel.
yeah.
So like all the things that I've seen, all the little snippets and stuff, I'm just like, don't really want to watch a movie where you're the hero.
But
uh,
that's what I'm saying is like how much of that was like the
the
direction she
writing,
got
right?
versus and the writing versus like
Because it seems like they're well, first of all, they kind of have to retcon things in order to put her there anyway, to be like, oh yeah, well she's been on the back burner this whole time. The world's been on the brink of distinction multiple times, but now we gotta call her in because it's really in the brink of distinction. Whatever, there's garbage like that. But I mean, okay, I've had this part spoiled.
you were saying distinction.
Oh,
Were you
extinction.
combining
Wow, that was bad.
extinction and destruction?
Destruction. Yeah, yeah. There you go. Wow,
I
that
did.
was terrible.
I
Um,
love it, dude. I love it.
I think also brink, that just ink in there.
The brink of
Extinction. Yeah, I don't
distinction,
know. Oh man,
dextinction.
yikes. This is what the patrons pay for. Uh,
Ooh.
my screw ups.
I
Um,
heard that and I was like, you said it
that
once
was
and then you said it again, and I'm going,
does he intentionally? Is he
Or
really
maybe
that
maybe it was just
stupid?
like I was like, is it my bad ears? Like, am
No.
I that old?
It was a combination. Yeah. Um,
Anyways,
the other thing again, because I've had it spoiled, is freaking a cat. Really, the cat scratches out the
but it's not a
his
cat,
eye.
dude.
Okay.
It's okay. This is gonna be so dumb, so dumb. Like, and this is like part of the weakness of that movie. One, it's sort of poking a little bit of fun at Nick Cage,
Yeah.
like because like in that movie, Sam Jackson's Nick Cage is kind of a different character. Still
Uh,
kind of
uh,
cool,
Nick Cage. It's not Nick Cage.
or
It's
not Nick Cage, Nick Fury.
there you go. Fury.
Nick
Yes.
Fury. Like, but Sam Jackson's Nick Fury is kind of like in the movies we see him, he's just like super like put together, hard A. This is
Yeah.
like very almost rookie-ish
Hmm.
Nick Fury.
Hmm.
And there's some like stuff where he's a little goofy and kind of weird and like and it's not bad, but again, this is just like I'm of the opinion that I think like if they would have like we got another Captain Marvel movie in there and actually had like worked some stuff out with scripts,
Yeah.
I think
It would have made more sense if they gave it some time to.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
it's just it's one of those things where I don't Captain Marvel I think actually has kind of a fun soundtrack because it's like
Okay.
a not I was gonna say a naughties, but I meant a 90s kind of like there's a lot of like 90s and aughts
Hmm.
alt rock and pop punk kind of like throwbacks.
Hmm.
Like there's a fight scene where they play No Doubt's I'm Just a Girl, and it's
Okay.
Brie Larson just throwing these dudes around this
Hmm.
room, and it's actually a really fun sequence.
Hmm.
Like it's probably one of my favorite moments in the movie. Like
Okay.
there's other stuff like that I do have to wonder like if there was like a slightly different take on her
Hmm.
character, it could have been like I think yeah, you just have to wonder how much of it is like the actor and how much of it is just like the script and the
Yeah.
direction.
Totally. Yeah, definitely. Before we get off this train, before we go ahead and jump into the episode, is I have to throw in if you're talking about like bottom of the barrel Marvel movies. I'm sorry, I think Avengers 2 is a bloated mess, and it
Which one
was
is that? Is that Civil War?
no. I loved Civil War.
Which one's Avengers 2?
2 was actually where where she shows up with her brother. It's
Oh, Age of
Age of
Ultron.
Ultron. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron
I
is pretty not great.
it was like big and bombastic, but all in like the worst ways to where it was actually boring. I don't know. I
Yeah.
that
Yeah, it's
was
been a
but
while.
again, I agree with you though, like the worst of them are still like, it's okay.
Like
But
there's a,
I remember being bored watching that movie. And I shouldn't be bored during a Marvel movie.
no, no.
That's not that's kind of the
Well, and that's like honestly, like by the time we got to Endgame and Infinity War and all that
Mhm.
stuff, like I was just kind of
Really?
like it was like
Okay.
I enjoyed my time, but
Mhm.
it's like I remember just and again, we've established that maybe I'm just an elitist snob jerk. Um, which I'm starting to wonder if it isn't the case. Because sometimes like I'm listening to people and I'm listening to them sort of like say like, well, we already had the hot take about somebody's opinion on Ready Player Two.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
but then I was just going like, I'm just like in my head, like I'm screaming and just you know, uh but I forget where I was going.
You're
I
saying about the last two Avengers movies.
oh,
You're
by
just
the time we got
bored
to
by
the like
Marvel in general.
yeah,
Mhm.
I was kind of over them.
Mhm.
And I think some of that too was just sort of like I mean, I think I'd started to burn out
Yeah.
honestly on Marvel like probably
Mhm.
around Black Panther.
Yeah. That
Um
that makes sense because again, one of the first movies that popped into my head when you were talking about like the worst ones was also Doctor Strange, but for
I
very
actually
different
love Doctor
reasons.
Strange, man.
Really? Okay. See,
I dig that.
it was
Don't
another one that I was just like meh. But again, for very different reasons because I think it was well done. It had some cool shots and cool scenes, but the story was so bland. Like, oh, you know what's going to happen in the first 5 minutes of the movie. That I didn't
yeah, but that
care for it.
I don't know, man. But you also like
But it's still
you like
really well done.
I like you know I know it's Benedict Cumberbatch, but I
You're
love
thinking of all that.
like all the dumb names
Uh-huh.
like Bumbersnickle,
Bandersnatch. Yeah.
Bandersnatch, Kumquat, you know,
Yes.
or
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
Bumblebee,
respect. That
Cucumber.
dude is he's a good
Like I
actor
mean, and
for
like
sure.
dude, like I think his character, like one, he
Hmm.
actually I thought he pulled off like a really I like his American accent. With like there were times where it was like a little weird, I
Yeah.
remember, but it was like for the most part, I was like, he just managed. I don't know how he manages to just strip out all the British.
Yeah.
Like sometimes he sounded a little weird,
Hmm. But
but
it's not like, oh, that's a British dude doing an American accent.
no, it was
Yeah,
like I was kind of
that's true.
like, yeah, I was like, I got to give props to the dude. Respect the craft. But no, like yeah,
Oh,
Doctor
that's his last
Strange.
name. Okay. Benedict Respect the Craft.
Oh,
Sorry.
Bumbledore. Yeah. Dumbledore, respect the craft.
There you go. New one.
Uh,
I like it.
uh, but he's I man, I've just been like I'm kind of a fan of his work. So
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
like Doctor
He's
Strange. I
great.
think like I thought it was kind of cool. Like I like the fact like that like they brought magic into the MCU,
Hmm.
but it's just like these people who are able to understand like and basically play with the forces of nature.
Hmm.
Like it's just like it is basically just like sort of like in the original Thor where Thor's like, "What your people call magic, my people just call technology. It's just science." It's like well, if you get smart enough, you can do this stuff. And I'm like, I kind of like dig that, even though
Hmm.
it's kind of like, nah, dude.
Hmm.
Like you wiggling your fingers and like doing this, and then giant holes ripping space time.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's like I don't know. That's magic, bro.
Hmm.
Like, but
Yeah.
anyways,
We probably should get started sometime
yes,
tonight.
yes.
Um, okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be real simple. Let me just
Yeah,
go ahead and play the opening here. We're
there we go.
only 23 minutes in. Why not?
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Why not? Shape of a grumpy old Presbyterian PlayStation fan.
Form of a happy-go-lucky Baptist Nintendo bro.
Backlog
Backlog
breakdown
breakdown powers.
powers activate.
Activate.
That's a little bit
And
of
here we are.
Wonder Twins there for you folks.
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't know what that is, then I don't know what to tell you. You have a sad, sad life, and I feel bad for you.
I mean, I think I learned about the Wonder Twins. I probably first heard them just from these kinds of things where they're mocking them.
Hmm.
Uh, But
See,
yeah,
well, but
but I do know who they are.
your life is
But I
probably
have heard
better
of
for knowing that. Yeah,
them.
like you have that. You can mock that point of reference.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
I was,
exactly.
I am unfortunately old enough to remember when the Super Friends aired on
Mm,
television,
mm,
and
mm.
it was not great, not great.
Gotcha, gotcha. But this podcast will be great, and it is hosted by two super friends.
We are pretty super, and we are pretty friendly, and yeah, I'd say you are a super friend.
Did that work at all?
Yeah, yeah, no,
All
it
right.
works. It vibes. It vibes. I feel it. That's as the cool kids say. That's a mood.
Oh, I don't know that I've heard that one.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking more like weird flex, but okay. But oh, all right.
Yeah.
But here we are, episode
Being super
72.
friends is tight.
Yeah. Oh man, yes. Have to reference pitch meeting in everything that we do now. Now,
From here on out.
maybe that'll just be the next podcast. We'll be just talking about pitch meeting, just in
That's a really
general.
great one. Like because we all love pitch meeting. Like
Just
that's
quote.
actually like we could just spend like 4 hours just like quoting pitch meeting bits to each
We
other
could
and
do like
laughing
top
like
10
idiots.
pitch
Yeah.
meetings, and yeah, oh, it's great. I love it. Boom. Why are we even doing this podcast? Let's
Super
just do another
easy. Barely even an inconvenience.
podcast. Exactly. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay. We are today going to be discussing the things that come out of pitch meetings. The television that you like to watch. How does that pertain to your backlogs, you may ask? Well, we're talking about video games on TV. Sort of, kind of. But we'll get to that in a bit. Before we jump into main topics though. Nate, how you been over the past fortnight?
Well, I will tell you. It's been 2 weeks.
Oh, dang it. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay.
I mean, you know what my goal is now is I'm going to find clever ways to just like instead of just jumping on the 2 weeks thing, I'm just going to find clever
How
ways
many
to just
times can you quote
na-
the Bare Naked Ladies in an episode?
pretty much every time.
All the times.
Uh, you know, I don't make films, but if I made films, yeah. That's like all I remember from that song. Yeah. And oh man, jeepers. Anyways, thank you Canada for that treasure.
Yeah, I say that. Like, I don't know that I've ever actually heard another one of their songs. It's just that, you know, that's just
Oh,
it.
it was on the radio for like 8 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those, it's like closing time, like everyone knows closing time. Or at
Mm.
least you've heard it. It's not quite the earworm as that song. I don't
No,
even know
no.
the name of that song, but regardless. Let's not talk about that song. Let's
Mm.
talk about what you've been up to, man.
Uh, just living my worst life now.
Oh. Oof.
No, it's not that bad,
Oh
dude.
man.
It's just it's just been a weird couple weeks. Like,
Hmm.
well, this coming weekend, as of recording. Now, by the time this airs for public feeds, and I'll have already. But we're this weekend going to my grandfather's memorial service,
Yeah, that's right.
which will be weird. And as much as I'm going to try to avoid it, I'm sure that some sort of like family drama will ensue in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form. Just because family drama.
Mhm.
It's, but you know, things are just kind of like I don't think there's been anything like I've actually sort of had like a really bland couple of weeks where it just
Yeah.
sort of been like work, um, putts around the house a little bit, kind of, and then just which some lifting. I've been trying
Okay.
to get back into that a little bit.
Nice. Nice.
I'd I'd taken some time off, and then I'd been kind of spotting inconsistent. I'm really trying to get back into it. Um, so I lifted a couple times last week. Lifted this morning.
Nice.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Just kind of like it's
Yeah.
been like work's been okay. Like weather's it's starting to get nice. So like
Oh, good.
that's cool. Like and by nice I mean like it's like 50 degrees, 60
Yeah.
degrees ish. Like we're supposed to hit 60 sometime this week, so
Okay.
I'm looking forward to
Okay.
that. So it'll be good.
Sweet.
It'll
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah. Not
So
not just snowing all the time. That sounds awesome.
No, it's spring is sprunging.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, 60 sounds like the perfect temperature around there for walking 12 miles a day. You know, like
Yeah, I
it seems like you would want it cooler because to me like 60 is still cool.
I think honestly, like once when things get cranking, if I could talk right, but once things get sort of do get cranking and sort of moving along, probably I'd say like perfect day is like honestly like mid to low 70s.
Okay.
It's
Okay, cool.
like because like that's usually like warm enough that you don't have to worry about a ton like wearing a bunch of extra clothes or whatever, but it's also
Right.
cool enough that you're not sweating like a pig.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's probably like, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Awesome. Awesome.
how about you
Well,
guys?
good to hear.
What's new down in Texas?
There's not too much new. It's been a busy couple of weeks just with a number of things going on, just work stuff. We talked a little bit in the
Oh, you guys are.
pre-show.
Oh, wait, wait, wait,
Mm-hmm.
wait. You guys are killing You are literally
Oh,
murdering
people
hundreds of
in the
thousands of
streets.
people
Yeah.
all the time. Just cold blood.
Yeah, because
You're
we're
yanking their
Texas. It's the Old
masks off
West.
their face and
Mm-hmm.
injecting them
Get out
directly
of
with
here with that.
corona.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how we
Mhm.
do it here in Texas. Thanks to our
Well,
governor.
you got to get rid of those Californians some way.
No, that's a reference also to the pre-show. So mask mandate was lifted, so it's no long the government no longer tells you that you have to wear a mask. That's all that means. Okay, that does not in fact mean that there's any problem with wearing masks or with mandating in your own personal business or personal property that you want people to wear masks. You can still do that. Anyways, so but that's happened in Texas, and of course people flip out because people flip out no matter which way you go on issues.
Because I'm just like, I just don't think, I think people just like, they have that they're so sort of unhinged and like
Hmm.
unmoored from reality and what's actually important that like that becomes like the thing.
Yes.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
so, and it's not that I'm not trying to, but it's like this whole like Prince is it Harry and
Yes.
Meghan
Hmm.
Markle had
Hmm.
like the interview with Oprah,
Hmm.
and they were saying like a bunch of like old white people are kind of racist, and there's like apparently they're spilling all sorts of tea about like the freaking royal family, and I'm like, okay, like I literally could not care less
Hmm.
about like one, she's not my queen.
Hmm.
Two, don't care. Like it's just like I don't know, man. Like I just kind of was like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I've seen it on my Google feed, and I had to intentionally like take it off because I'm like, why? I don't care about any of this.
I googled it for like 5 seconds because
Okay.
I was like
Hmm.
mildly interested. I read like I just sort of like skimmed through an article for like 15, 20 seconds. I was
Hmm.
like, this is dumb. Move on. Like boop. Like I
The
was like, oh, I
end.
don't care. I'm not British. I don't care. Like
That's right. We fought a war, so I didn't have to care about this stuff.
it's like sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the past couple weeks have been good. It's just been real busy. So this week, as of recording, was the last week of the current class that I've been taking, the first class of this
Mm.
of the spring semester. And so, and there were a number of things happening at work as well that kind of made this past week especially busy, requiring me to prioritize my time. And as we'll see as we get into the backlog report, I really have not been playing much video games at all. But
Mm.
there's still some stuff to talk about, just not much in the video game front, unfortunately. Unlike you've beaten a couple of different games,
Well,
so
they're
I've seen
tiny.
with your
They're
with
tiny.
your updates.
They're
Yeah,
teeny
I
tiny
beat some
guys.
tiny games earlier on in the year as well. But with that said, do you want to just go ahead and jump right into our backlog reports? I think
What say you are?
yours is way better. Yes. I only had a napkin this time. I kind of
Our
failed on
backlog
that one.
reports. Why, yes. Thanks, Josh. The weather today is, yeah.
A balmy +2 points to my backlog.
I was actually thinking of the word balmy. So
I don't know what it is. It just
it's
sounds
because we're
very,
super friends. Did you
neat.
know
Oh,
that Jan and Zan, the actual Wonder Twins, were telepathic? They could
I did
communicate
not know that.
with each other in their brains.
Hmm.
No need to verbalize. And they knew where each other, where they were at all, like the other one was at all times. Like I know that you're in Austin, and you know that I'm in
Ah,
Western Pennsylvania.
yeah.
It's like you see,
Hmm.
it's
Wow,
we're
that's awesome.
we're the backlog bros,
I love it.
the breakdown boys, something. Uh yeah, I'll let me pull up my actual notebook here and so yeah. As far as reading, I'm just gonna start with books.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same as last time. I'm finishing up The Rhythm of War by
Okay.
Brandon Sanderson. It's
Hmm.
like I'm in the last like hour and it's all like
Okay.
epilogue and like wrapping up strings and all that stuff. And it's dude, it's good. I mean, like here's the thing, like Sanderson's a talented writer.
Hmm.
He's very good. Um I don't know. I don't know if I have anything to say. It's good.
It's good.
It's fun. It's pretty well written and he's got an interesting universe that he's sort of like building and fleshing out. I do have to just sort of like just a thought, and this is just like we sort of were talking about this with Marvel. Like I'm just like how like there's a part of me that's like stop building this massive world and just tell me some stories.
Okay. Okay.
Like all the world building and all this stuff. I'm kind of like just like tell some cool stories, bro.
Hmm.
But and he does do that, but it's just there's like a whole lot of like other stuff that sort of gets in there. It's just
Gotcha.
like, did you ever read any of the Wheel of Time books or any of that stuff?
The first one. Wait. No, sorry. Wheel of Time. I always get Wheel of Time confused with the Dark Tower. So
Okay.
I read the first Dark Tower. Have not read
Okay.
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan is
Okay.
really, really cool for about a book or two.
Okay.
And then it just like you're juggling like 19 narrative threads after a
Gotcha.
while. And it's like he's got all these different characters and it's like it's epic and it's huge. It's just nearly impossible to keep track of all of it because
Gotcha.
it's epic and huge.
Yeah. So
And
sort of like Song of Fire and Ice or
yeah,
Song of Ice and
y-
Fire. I
you
don't
mean
remember
the
which is
George
first.
R. R. Martin stuff. Yeah, it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
it's huge and there's like a bajillion characters and there's all sorts of like intrigue and it's just like and yes, there's like a few main characters, but
Mhm.
like yeah, it's just it's and I just like there's a part where I'm just kind of like
Yeah.
like I'm just kind of like yeah, I don't know. Like the only thing that really keeps me going is that I'm listening to them.
Mhm.
And it's like, as I get older, I just want my stories. I just tell the stupid story. And this,
Yeah.
anyways,
Nice.
I brought it up to you earlier, I think in the bro hang or whatever. Still working through Communion with the Triune God by Owen. This is the Crossway edition. Kelly Kapic and I think Justin Taylor edited this edition. Kapic and Taylor both have some introductory essay notes kind of thing or whatever.
Mhm.
And it is Kelly Kapic's is like I think the words that I used to describe to you was like he has put my brain in a headlock and
Mhm.
is giving me a swirly and I don't like it. But it's been good. It's deep and it's kind of it's heavy and it's just
Yeah.
sort of like hard to parse out and it's like I read like 3 pages and I'm like crap.
Mhm.
Like I gotta stop and like chew on this for a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I have, and it's not really reading because I'm more of listening, but I have started listening to um, my Psalms and Proverbs reading. Like
Yeah.
I download it in the Dwell app and then I listen to that a few times throughout the day just to sort of, and then I am trying to sort of just sit down and journal, like sit down and reread it and journal through it. But anyways,
Yeah.
um,
Nice.
so it's just like sort of, doing a little bit of a deeper soak, and
Mhm.
Um, so that's pretty much all of my reading. Um, as far as video games, so I did end up wrapping up the Technomancer,
Yep.
which that is like a solid B C game. It's a really interesting world, really interesting storytelling, some really interesting narrative stuff, and that's about it. The like
Okay.
there's it's like it is schlocky like 90s sci-fi, the game, the video game. And it's like uh, and I was talking to Parker a little bit about this. Like I enjoyed most of my time with that game, but the combat is really not great.
Mm,
It's perfectly it's like perfectly adequate, and
okay.
that's about all it gets.
Hmm.
And it gets to a point where it's actually just like it's so like it can be so tedious that it's just like why am I playing this? But
Gotcha. Mm.
it's like the combat's actually so like bland that it I mean, I gave it a 3 out of 5, which is still like sort of on the passing side of things,
Hmm.
but it's like you passed, but just barely. Like,
Got a D. I passed.
yeah, it's like D's get degrees, bro.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it was like it gets a D. Like it's it is interesting, and I'm not saying don't and like but this it appeals to a very certain type of gamer,
Gotcha.
like our
Hmm.
good buddy Jesse Knopp would probably. He likes Alex and some of these other weird
Okay. Yeah.
Euro jank games, and that's very much what
You're-
this is. Um, but oh, quick shout out to him before I forget. He
Mhm.
recently posted that he finished up his biblical studies program.
That's right. Yep. Dude's a
So
bachelor.
dude, dude's got that bachelor. Hey, hey, hey. So he probably doesn't listen to this
Yeah.
because he hates us and our work. But congratulations, Jesse.
Yeah, man.
Um, but anyways, moving on. I beat the Unfinished Swan, which,
Oh.
dude, I kind of liked it more than Edith Finch.
That was surprising when you posted that in the Discord, and then I remembered the game has a lot to do with like art. I know that sounds stupid, but I mean like, painting and things like that. And I was like, okay, okay. I
But
I can see
well,
that. He's
it's
very
also it feels like it's got like it feels like whereas What Remains of Edith Finch is sort of like almost more of a visual novel with
Mhm.
like gamey elements.
Yeah.
Um, The Unfinished Swan is more of a game with
Okay.
heavy narrative elements.
Gotcha.
Like
Gotcha.
it's I mean, but they're both sort of like they both exist in this weird space that like
Hmm.
pretty much Giant Sparrow is the only person who makes stuff like this. But I like there are parts of it that yeah, I think like and it's a couple hours long and like you can
Yeah.
play through. Like I actually want to go back through and I think I'm gonna try to do all the collectibles, unlockables, and like 100% slash platinum it. I don't know if it has a platinum or not, but 100% it
Hmm.
because I really kind of dig it.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
so there's one challenge in particular that I'm looking at, and I'm going like, how would you freaking do this? Um,
Interesting.
interesting, but so I'm looking at my notes here. I beat a game called Minute,
Hmm.
Minit. Um, it's basically sort of a distilled down version of The Legend of Zelda, like that type of
Hmm.
like a, top down
Yeah.
adventure-y kind of game. And the whole gimmick is you play it in 60-second bursts.
Okay.
And
Sounds pretty awesome.
it's actually really cool. I I did have to look up like a few. There were a couple times I was like, "What the heck am I supposed to be looking for?"
Okay.
Or like, and it's like, "Oh, you have to go to this one. But it's one of those games where it's like you can sit down and play it for 20 minutes and make serious headway. Like feasibly, there's a way to beat the game within like a half hour. Like if you once you
Okay.
know everything, because like one of the trophies is beat the game with 25 or less resets. Like so
Okay.
basically that 60-second cycle, like get through the game within 25 minutes to 30 minutes or whatever.
Gotcha.
Um,
Hmm.
so is that I did start up and so I'm thinking I would like to go back and sort of 100% that as well. So that
Okay.
and the Unfinished Swan, I might double back to at some point in time and try to like wrap those up because there's something Minute especially is very cool, very
Yeah.
very cool.
Nice.
Um, I really recommend that game. Like strong recommendation. Like if you like the Legend of Zelda games, this is sort of like,
And you should.
and you should
You
because
should.
they're pretty
'Cause they're
awesome.
good.
The 2D top down ones or whatever, like the SNES, NES,
Hmm.
the NES and SNES era. Anyways,
Yeah, like
so
like A Link to the Past, the one that didn't make our top 100 list, like that
because
game.
it's overrated. Um, yep, I said it. I said it. I'm not gonna. Anyways, and so I fired up a little indie game called Near Automata.
Hmm.
Automata. Um, and I've probably got a few hours in that, dude.
Okay.
It's legit. It's like, and I had played some of the original Nier, so I can see some of the bones from the PS3 era Nier on this
Hmm.
thing, and I'm like, okay, like some of the control, like the weird sort of action adventure RPG, like the action RPG kind of vibes, but then you have like basically these like twin stick shooter vibes
Hmm.
on it
Yep.
sometimes, which is just, man, that game does some cool stuff, and I dig it.
It's crazy how it pulls it off sometimes because you will notice like you don't notice it in the very beginning of the game because they intentionally take you through the different styles in that opening bit, which is just super cool. The opening is fantastic in my mind. Um,
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
but there are times when you can alternate the in like move around the world a little bit more when you're doing those things, and you notice that the whole twin stick shooter thing is actually still rendered in 3D,
Hmm.
which is really like the way that they are able to bolt on a different system is not just like, in your JRPGs, you get into a battle, oh, the screen, like fades and goes to a completely different screen and you're playing this, the selecting your attacks and stuff like that. Whereas with this game, no, it's like all in engine. It's all doing it moves
So when
back
you
and
do
forth
the,
between it, which is pretty cool.
yeah, it's not rendering anything
Hmm.
like, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but yeah, it's hard to describe it other
Yeah.
than saying like it sort of renders all of it in the same engine. There's no transitions or weird sort of like stilted like, you all of a sudden now you're into this sort of gameplay segment. It sort
Right.
of it flows from like one point into the next and then back into it. Like it
Yeah.
like even when you're doing, yeah, even when you're
From
doing some like the dungeon exploration stuff,
Yeah.
like it goes into a top, like there are times where it goes down into a like a top down twin stick shooter kind of
Hmm.
vibe. And
And then there are like platforming segments, like sort of.
mhm,
I don't want to call it 2D because it's all still the 3D models, but
mhm.
it's flat. What you can do in jumping around, and the way that the battle system works is very similar. It's just that it's squished down to a 2D plane instead of an open world kind of a thing, which is it's technically that's really cool. Anyways, you can tell
It
I've been
it's
playing
just
it, and so
like
there are things that I.
the music in that is really rad.
Hmm.
Like that weird like techno, and it's like I think I remember that music sort of being this for the near, like for the PS3. I remember the
Yeah.
music sort of being pretty similar.
Okay.
Like
Nice.
I'll be honest, like I think just like the standard fare, like hack and slash sort of gameplay
Hmm.
might be the weakest part
Okay.
of the
Yeah.
game,
Yeah.
but it's
Fair enough.
fine. It's good. Like, and I'm super early on, so it's
Yeah.
not like I have like, but I just like I'm playing it. I'm like, oh, this is adequate. This is fine, but it
Yeah.
never feels like I'm playing on normal. So
Yep.
just because, yeah,
Yeah. The first playthrough doesn't present much of a challenge. Not that you won't die, just that like, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's, and then I think I am going to start chipping away. So I think what I'm going to probably be doing for a little bit is sort of pivoting between. I'm going to start because I had fired up some Metal Gear Solid 3 on my
That's right.
Vita.
Hmm.
So I'm going to, I think, sort of like bounce between those two for a little bit. And that's kind of what my energy, like as far as any video game stuff, that's kind of where it's going to be. But how about you,
Nice.
buddy?
Nice. Well, I'll start with video games because really Nier is the only thing that I've been playing. I haven't really touched much of Final Fantasy X, so just like quick bursts. So I haven't gotten far in that at all. But in terms of Nier Automata, so I think we've talked about it on the podcast. I can't remember, but the game has multiple endings.
Hmm.
And the way that it works, and I mean, this is kind of spoilery, sorry, a little bit, but you're just now starting the game, and I'm pretty sure you've seen me talking about it on Discord. In the game, you play two different androids, and basically the first playthrough is from one of them's perspective. The second playthrough is from the other's perspective. Okay. Well, after that, there's another playthrough that you can do. Playthrough in quotation marks, where it basically like the story picks up after the end of the game and stuff really goes crazy. If it wasn't crazy enough for you, then it really like hits the fan.
It gets super weird.
Yeah. And after your first playthrough, which is only about a dozen hours, it rolls credits. And if you start a third playthrough, the entire opening scene where stuff hits the fan, credits are showing like you're starting a completely new game. But it almost it feels Metal Gear esque of just like, oh, this game is playing you, like, of course, this is it's like it's almost like there's a sequel that's baked in, but the sequel is actually explaining a lot of the stuff that happens in the main story. So anyways, all that to say is that I still am not very far into the third playthrough, basically like the second act of the game. But I feel bad for anyone who stopped playing the game after the first playthrough because it doesn't really give you, not that it's not a satisfying ending, it's just that it feels kind of empty of just like, oh yeah, okay. That's what it was, kind of a thing, without really explaining like, hey, what's actually going on. Because yeah, later stuff goes crazy. So I'm on the third playthrough, and what I've heard, what I've read and researched and whatnot, is that the third playthrough goes till basically like the end of the game, where you can make multiple choices, and each of those choices has another ending. So there's another three endings at the end of the third
Now,
playthrough.
can you like, and I know you're not there yet, but
Mhm.
can you save and then
Yes. Yes.
experience all three endings?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I heard someone explaining like how you get all the different, and or not even all the different, because there's tons of joke endings. There's an ending for
You can
every letter
remove the
of the alphabet.
CPU
Right.
and
Yeah. Hmm.
basically kill yourself.
Yeah. At the start of the or second playthrough, you can go off the like not do what the game tells you to do, and it's basically like, oh, he wandered off and he was never heard from again. It's like, oh, okay, well, there you go. Got another ending. Um, but like the main story endings that are gonna get you, uh, yeah, well, basically just explain the story and really what to get a full uh look at everything that this game is trying to do. I believe it's these five endings, which are the two that you get, for the first playthrough kind of a thing, where it's the same thing, and then
Yeah.
the three that you can get from the portion that happens after that. So, anyway, still in the beginning of the third portion, however you want to split that up, but that's pretty cool. In terms of just backlog beatdown 2021, I did pick up a game. I found on sale at Walmart. Astral Chain was
Oh
they
yeah.
were clearancing that out. They had two
I should have
copies.
I should have told you to just buy the other one for me, and I'd send you the money. But
Dang. Then I totally should have. Now I feel like a jerk because I bought two copies and then I immediately sold one on eBay
yeah, I would have done the
to
same
make some money
thing.
back.
Like if like and well that's the thing is like I probably should have just said, hey, like pick me up the other one, dude, and I'll forward you the cash or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but
Ah, well, that's a
I
shame.
wasn't. I would don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. I well now that you mention it, so like the thing is like basically I got my score to -5.
Hmm.
Then I played Minute, beat Minute, and then I bought a game called Ashen.
Hmm. Yep. Yeah.
That I'm gonna play. Parker and I are gonna play through it at some point in time.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that's it's a multiplayer pickup. So like the points
Okay.
for Minute, just like I was like, "Boop, there goes that. Boop.
Yeah.
I'm like, boop,
Yeah.
there goes that one. So and yeah.
Cool. But yeah, the Astral Chain at $25, that's
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
way cheaper than I've ever seen
Well,
it. And I was excited for that game when it first came out. And it's funny because I'm playing a Platinum game right now. Nier was made by Platinum, or the mechanic.
Platinum makes really cool like adventure action games kind of like this year I think I am going to sit down and finally play through uh what is that? Vanquish.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I haven't played that one, but I've heard good things. So it's a fun time. But yeah, so I was stoked to finally pick up
Yeah,
Astral
for
Chain,
sure,
even
for
if I
sure.
wasn't, planning on it per se. I was just really surprised that it was
Dude,
that cheap.
well, dude, that's a heck of a deal because like you probably turned around and sold um that other one you bought for like
Mhm.
60 bones, didn't you?
I intentionally kind of sold it low. I posted it up for 45. Someone offered me
Okay.
40, and I was like, okay, cool.
Okay,
So I
okay,
made a
okay.
quick, $15 off it. So I essentially paid $10 for my copy.
Yeah.
So, it was nice and easy. And then I was also, we talked about it a little bit, but I was gifted a copy of Control. So
Mhm.
we'll see. That may come up later this year. We might play through that game and
That
we
is
might talk about it a little bit. We'll
we
see.
are trying to figure out the logistics on that one.
Hmm.
So yes.
Um, so I've got that on PC. I did fire it up just real quick just to test the settings. And turns out if I want anything higher than 60 frames per second, I have to turn it to low. So it is a very graphically intensive game. And low didn't look bad for the 5 minutes that I played, but well, we'll see. I just
But
thought
can
I
you
just thought it
do
was
all
funny.
the ray tracing?
No. There is an option for ray tracing. I
You know
cannot.
what? If I can't, because well, full disclosure, listeners, like the goal is I'd like to get a PS5 sometime this year, and that's how I
Mm.
want to play Control.
Mhm.
But it may turn into one of those things where I have heard that the cloud edition from on because it's
Oh,
on the Switch. I've heard that
wait, what?
plays. Yes, it's a cloud version. It's basically like
I
it's
didn't
what they
know
did
that.
with like Resident Evil
7 in Japan.
7 in
Yep.
Japan. So, and
I
I've heard that it runs
didn't know.
reasonably well. So that might be something that I check out.
Wow. I had no idea that was even released. That's crazy. But yeah, that makes sense if you play it on the wow. Huh. Well, you learn something new every day.
I'm
So
not saying
that's
that's what I will do. That's what I might do.
it's an option. Yeah, you can take a
Well,
look at it. That's all in terms of video games. Really haven't played much of anything. I have been listening to a few books outside of reading for class and scripture and things like that. But I've also been listening to scripture, which is pretty nice to get overviews of different books. That's been really cool. And then you can like really take it, or when things jump out at you, it's like, man, that's.
mhm.
Anyways, but the books I've been listening to, again, mentioned a little bit, so I won't go into it a ton here. But Amazon is banning certain books, and so I immediately just went and checked them out from the library. One called "When Harry Became Sally," by Ryan T. Anderson. It's basically just about transgenderism, I guess, and sort of the cultural moment and how just ways to think about it. A reasoned defense of why of how to socially how we ought to think about transgenderism, if that makes sense. And then another book by him, it was co-authored by him. It's called What is Marriage? And it was a really interesting book. I liked it, but it was intentionally not, it did not, so it's argumentation as to what marriage is and why it is only between a man and a woman and why the government ought to recognize it, if that makes sense. And it intentionally says at the beginning of the book that it does not use any biblical arguments. Like it's not trying to root any of it in scripture. It's simply like more like for policy and for cultural reasons, and so it reasons from that. And so I was like immediately at the beginning of the book kind of disappointed, like, oh, well, then what are you actually going to say about it? But he makes some strong arguments, and I was actually really impressed for what he could. As a Christian, I think there are stronger arguments rooted in creation, but it's actually really fascinating how much you can pull just from looking at what God has created. Not that I would recommend, divorcing him from it, but still.
I've heard an argument for marriage defined as a man and a woman, and why, because it is the foundational building block of society. Like it is basically the smallest unit on which a society can be built.
Yeah,
is a man and a woman potentially. The family is the smallest sort of social unit, and
right.
is and as such is necessary. It's the only social unit that's actually necessary for everything else. Like I've heard some arguments, and it's like when you like there's an argument that can be made just from a materialist perspective for why this is not only good but necessary, and why it ought to be protected. And but
yeah, and even the definition of it. So yeah, I was surprised at how much I did end up enjoying it. I'll put it that way. And it's a short little book too. Both of them aren't very long, but that one was shorter. And then I started just last night Jordan Peterson's new book, Beyond Order: 12 More Rules for Life. And it's interesting. I like Peterson. I like the big ideas that he wrestles with. I do also like the way that he can read into so many stories, if that makes sense.
Well, that's a Jungian archetypical stuff, man. It's like he just like what him and Jung both did, and that Carl Jung. Carl. But what they both did is sort of recognize that, and I think that like the precept guys will sort of like will sort of like all stories are God's stories, but like there's really like I've heard it said there's really only like 8 stories. It's like a writer at some point in time said that, and so what Young and by proxy Jordan Peterson have sort of done is sort of pulled out those 8 or 10 stories that are sort of like woven throughout every culture, and they pull out the mores and the different sort of like and it's pretty ingenious. And they say like it's not really important like the specifics of the story, which to a certain extent, like I think we can sort of affirm. I think where we differ is that there are certain stories that are told where the details actually matter.
Oh,
like,
yes. Yeah.
Like I mean, especially, and I'm saying, speaking contextually as a Christian, right? Like I think a lot of times we don't always think about this, but we are making a historical claim, like a claim about historical facts. Like we're saying like that God, roughly 2,000 years ago, allowed, stepped into flesh, became the incarnation. He became a baby. He lived as a man. He died. He lived perfectly, the perfect life. Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways, but we're making like certain historical claims,
Right.
and so like the details do matter in that
Yes.
story.
Yeah.
But I think there's also sort of like it's sort of brilliant in acknowledging that there's wisdom, like, and that these stories are meant to teach.
Hmm.
And yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's lots of symbolism or symbology. No, that's oh gosh, what is that movie? I feel dumb. Um, with the two Irish brothers. Dang it. Now I'm gonna have to look that
Are
up.
you talking
Uh,
about oh, it's on
why can't I
the
freaking think of it?
some
All of this is
Boondock
like gonna be cut
Saints,
out. The Boondock Saints. That's
which is,
exactly what I'm
oh
thinking
dude,
of.
that movie, like,
Uh,
so you've got you brought that up. Here's the thing about that movie
hmm
is when I was like 21, 22, I thought that was the bee's knees.
hmm
It's a hot pile of trash.
Really?
It's not great.
Hmm.
It's like cinematically, it's kind of like it's just like I think like that it's an interesting script and that's about it.
Okay.
And it's like it's not shot well. And they're like story beats and stuff and it's just like there are a few points that are like pretty neat, but
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. But I liked his well, I think the characters in general were good. From what I remember, it has been a very long time since I've seen.
I
Oh
would
man,
just
when they killed the cat. But
I'm going to challenge you to go
hmm
back and watch it.
okay,
And
yeah,
because
just
there's
see.
stuff where you're just gonna watch it like now and it's just like, oh, that's not great. And it's like it's very much a product of its time. That's what
Yeah,
I'll say.
yeah,
Like,
totally.
and I don't think it ages all that well.
hmm Yeah, makes sense. Cool. Well, that's really all I had to report on, but because I didn't have anywhere else to kind of throw this in, I'm gonna two quick anecdotes. And the first one, anecdote, what?
Anecdote.
Anecdotes. Why can't I talk? This is so weird. Two
The edge
anecdotes.
of distinction.
Yes, exactly. Brink of
Oh yes,
distinction.
the brink of
Uh,
distinction. Yes.
someone take this microphone away because
We're
all these
tired.
things are being recorded.
We're falling. We're just like, you know what this is like years from now, this is going to
Yikes.
be sort of an audio log of two men falling apart.
There you go. That's exactly what this is. And you can't even tell that these are two old men because I was about to talk about how I've been listening to a lot of Ultraman music lately for
Yeah.
various reasons. I will just say that at least from the Ultraman that I have seen, um, the Japanese people really don't go halfway on hardly anything. The theme songs for their kids' television shows kick so much butt. It's crazy.
Mm.
Like it is insane. Some of these songs. I was talking about this with my brother the other day. Is that you get so for certain Ultraman like Ginga and Ginga S in particular, um, you get a minute, maybe a minute and a half of this theme song when you start an episode. But the full song that was written is like 5 or 6 minutes and goes off. It like layers, especially the Ginga one, like layers on top of each other, on top of itself, and has like all these really cool vocal lines. The one for Ginga S, like in the middle of the song, just goes into a bridge that like throws the time signature out the window and it sounds like a boss battle from a Final Fantasy game. Like it is insane. There guitar solos all over the place. And I'm just like, how is this a kids TV show theme song when it's so awesome? It doesn't make any sense, and I love it. Some of the standouts. Theme to Genga is fantastic. The theme to Genga S is really really good. The thing to Zet, I mean, come on, that one's fantastic. Basically, the
Chant my
Japanese
name.
Bruce. Yes, chant my name. There you go. They got some Japanese guy who sounds like Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden to sing this song. It's fantastic. And then also, I'm digging the themes to the Ultra Galaxy Fight series. So the Ultra Galaxy Fight, the Absolute Conspiracy. I'd say that one. I really like it. It's called, and it's more J-pop. It's definitely more J-pop. It's not quite as guitar
Is that the one
heavy.
it's like something
Zero to Infinity
Zero to
is what it's called.
Infinity?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one really
I
pumped me
I
up.
watched the video for that and I was like, all right, all
Was it the
right.
guy dancing in the
Yeah, it
light?
was that
Yes,
that part
yes.
was really like it's got like the weird lights everywhere like in the
Hmm.
circle and he's like dancing and has like
Yep.
at one point in time I'm pretty sure he had a fedora or something and I was like, what is why would you like this is not a good video, dude.
Hmm. But
Like
it's kind of like it's funny because like it's the theme song to an Ultraman TV show, you know? Like
mhm.
what is he doing? But I think it was kind of like a not a crossover, but you know, he's got like a musical career as well as his voice acting. And so I think it was sort of like both of those kind of converging in order to put out the single. But regardless, I do really like the song, even if it is more electronic J-pop than
I have
some of the other ones.
I have been watching I'm like on the fourth or fifth Ultraman Z
Okay, yes,
episode.
I've heard it's really good, but I want to
See,
watch
I think I'm
through.
pretty much to the point where I was before, and now
Okay,
it's just like now I just need to sort of like stick with it and watch it to the end.
nice.
But that's like I'll tell you what, that's one of those series that I think like as soon as it comes out on Blu-ray, like
Yeah, yeah.
Daddy Nate's gonna snap that up.
It will be mine. It will be mine.
Alternate will totally snap that up. It will
Alternate.
be mine.
I love it. I love
All
it.
right.
Because actually in Zero to Infinity he says ultimate and he pronounces it ultimate. So alternate. That's awesome. And then the only other anecdote, because I can talk, is that Square Enix has released a few albums to Spotify. One in particular that I wanted to call out is there is an album that is original Final Fantasy music remixed in this really popular lo-fi style that if you've ever heard of
Oh,
it, lo-fi hip hop or chill
dude,
hop, if you've heard of
yeah.
it, fan flippin' tastic. It can get a little weird. There's one that's more like reggae sound. I think it's the Chocobo theme.
Yeah, but
Um,
that I mean some of that lo-fi stuff can be a little like
I dig it. I dig it as like background
no,
music.
dude,
I put
that's
it on when
awesome.
I'm writing for school and stuff
Is
like
it
that. It is good stuff. It's got like an anime girl on the front of it. Like I don't know why, but that album is really good. I dropped a link in the Discord earlier this week.
oh, because I I would somebody can get me the name of that album or whatever. Like I'm
Okay, it
is it
is Square Enix chill out arrangement tracks around 80s mix is what it's called. I know, that's dumb. But it is, yeah, it's all original Final Fantasy music.
oh okay, wait, I'm looking at this right now. Yeah, it chill out arrangement tracks, 80s mix. But that's the lo-fi hip hop one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you would not be able to tell from the from
Because
the
I'm down
uh,
for stuff like that.
yeah. Check it out. It's good. It's good to chill to. So, that's all I've got. So,
One more quick shout out before, and I meant to, and I did mention this in the bro hang, but this month's PlayStation Plus games,
mhm,
phenomenal. Final Fantasy VII remake,
mhm,
um, faux free. That's got me sort of like, yeah, okay, like I might check this thing out
mhm.
way sooner than I actually anticipated. But and I had mentioned this in the bro hang, but uh Eric Bryant reached out to me today, friend of the show, patron, the judge himself. He is going to be playing some Remnant, and he and I will probably be playing some of that together because I really dig that game. It's a free game, boys and girls. It is free this month. If you have PS Plus, there's no reason to not freaking add. Like, If you play it and you don't like it, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you like Remnant is the greatest game of this generation, but this game is really, really great. It's
Hmm.
like it's not like it's problem free. There's some stuff where after a while you're like, yeah, you can sort of see like some of the weak spots after a bit, but it's freaking great. I I'm pumped. So
Nice.
get on it, boys and girls. Get on it. Get on it and play it with a friend or two.
Sounds like a good time. You know what else is a good time? This other podcast that our friend runs.
Yeah.
And here's where the ad goes.
Oh, you know what you should do? You know how we were talking about the maybe putting in like different sound cues every once in a while?
Yeah.
Well, you know what you ought to do for this one?
What?
Put in some Ultraman theme
Ultraman
music
Oh, that'd be so
for the
good.
like the transition stuff.
That's Ginga. So good.
But I'm just saying, like, throw that in.
So good. Ollie will just bust out with that randomly. And I've been trying to get it on video. But what's really fun, he really likes Zero to Infinity. He likes that one a lot. He will start singing it randomly, and like obviously it's in Japanese. Most of it is in Japanese. So he he does very similar syllables, like of parts that he knows, and just like spouts off nonsense to
Well,
the
dude,
tune
even when
of
the
it.
dude's like
And
singing
it's so
in
good.
English,
Mhm.
it's very like very Japanese. Like even the way they
Yes.
say like Ultraman, like it's
Yep.
like Ultraman, but it's a Ultraman.
It's
Ultraman.
I looked it up phonetically. It's Ura Tora. So URU
Because they don't even have the
TORA.
L.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's the
Ura
Tora.
Tora. Ura Tora is Ultra, which I was like, oh man, that makes
Ultraman.
yeah, because at the end of what Jeed's
Ultraman.
what is it? How does that one go? So get over now, get over pain, get over mine, jump up Jeedo. Oh, but how's
I'm
the
just
end of it?
tickled that you're like that you are singing Ultraman lyrics to me.
Yes,
There's a
I
part where I'm
am.
just like, yes, yes.
Uh, dang it. The very end of it. Urutoraman. That's how it goes.
Oh, that's
At
right.
the end of that one.
Yes.
That's what it was. And then because I was like, yeah, that sounds so weird. Because yeah, it's just like Japanese phonetics of English. And then when I looked it up and I saw because I was just wiki diving and it showed like phonetically how the Japanese pronounce it. And I was like, that's it. That's what I burn into my brain. Like, don't try to say ultra like a Japanese person. Say ura tora. And it's like, okay, there you go. Ura Doraman. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. We're giant nerds.
Yes. Oh, totally.
That's okay.
I love it. I love it.
So,
So
for
yeah,
this one,
I can
dude,
jump
I'm gonna be
in.
honest. Like, I'm just probably gonna riff off of what you talk about because the only things that I really watch on Twitch are
Mhm.
like event streams.
Yeah.
Like, and
And I'm totally down to bring up that stuff. I just watch a lot of YouTube, and so like that's kind of what I'm
even on
thinking.
YouTube, the bulk of my YouTube is like sometimes I watch SNL clips.
Mhm.
I'll watch Pitch Meeting,
Yes.
and I watch Ultraman, and that's pretty much like.
That's it.
And I did watch, like I did just for giggles. I brought up one of our YouTube video, like one of the
Mhm.
Patreon YouTube videos, and I watched that for a minute. I was like, huh, this is funny. I was like, okay,
You guys are nerds.
Like-
Get out of here.
what a couple of nerds. So
Love it. Okay. Well, this doesn't have to be too long. We can blow through this.
no, but I mean,
Uh-huh.
like we'll take whatever time we need. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like I don't have a like. Even on this, I was just like, I mean, I know that some people like streaming is like the big thing. Streaming is like sort of
Right.
like the dominant form right now,
Mhm.
and we can talk about that. But
Yeah. Yeah, I want to at least mention it because it is so huge, but also like I'm gonna be honest and say I don't watch any streamers and I don't.
Also, for the final word, have you watched any of those internet drama songs?
I watched like a minute of the one that you sent, and I was just like, this is dumb.
It is, but it's
It's
also like
funny, but I
it's
also didn't want it stuck in my head.
oh dude, they're
Was part
such
of
like
it too.
perfect earworms. Anyways, I'm just gonna quote the,
Okay.
from because there was a Jimmy Fallon collab
Hmm.
that he did, like it was the fourth one,
Okay.
and it's the blue cheese has mold in it, where
Yeah,
Alison
yeah, yeah,
Brie,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the
was
one you
that the one I
sent.
sent the
Uh-huh.
video?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Alison Brie just
Yeah.
keeps saying that blue cheese has mold in it, and
Right.
I'm just that's all I'm gonna say for the final word is blue cheese has mold in it.
There you go.
just just like
I like it. I like it because even if you don't know what it's from, like that's just a funny out of context like quote.
yeah, and that's like
Yeah.
I want to do more things like that, like
Mhm.
with the final word stuff is like sometimes just leave that like what the what does this mean?
Why? Yeah, sort of like when you quoted Tice, Jim Tice, Grigner. Just like,
Grigner.
why? What is this?
It's like I'm just gonna find weird stuff on the internet sometimes, guys.
Oh, you gotta be careful with that.
No. Like we're not gonna be reading like Sonic Slash fic, but
Oh gosh, gotta go fast. Okay. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm just saying gotta go fast. Okay.
this is how depraved I am. But I say Sonic Slash fic, and Josh is like, gotta go fast, and I'm just like I'm frozen. Like there's this awkward like, ugh, my brain just kind of like I was like, oh, ooh, should probably cut that part out.
No. Patrons get it uncut.
Ugh, ooh. Anyways,
Okay. Okay. Deep breath. All right. Oh. What was that?
you went deep breath, and I just like for whatever reason I
Like
started
in a
like I was like
weird
trying
noise.
not to laugh, but it was like my body was like, no, you're just gonna laugh here, just to
It's gonna
th-
happen.
you're gonna throw Josh off. Just look,
Ah.
I'm trying not to make.
I think I'm back. I think that water helped. And if not, I can close my eyes and just do this by myself.
I'm gonna drink some water.
Nice.
Okay.
Mm. Welcome back after that long hiatus with some pretty fantastic music, if I do say so myself. But today, episode 72, we are going to be talking about gaming and watching. You know, those little handheld. No, we're not talking about Nintendo's
We're not
handheld
talking about
systems.
that $50 alarm clock that you
Hmm.
play OG Super Mario Brothers on or whatever.
Yes, yes, that one. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But no, we're not
But
going to be
is it
talking about that.
$50 cool?
Right, that's the difficulty. That's the difficulty. But
I
you
hope
know, you do you. I shall say you do you.
you do you.
Um, but today we're going to be talking. Well, I want to explain why we're going to be talking about shows about games and watching games and watching. It simply dawned on me. Well, I'll say I just watch a lot of YouTube. Okay, I'll just throw that out there. I was watching. You know, we tend to Nate and I tend to discuss. You know, what are some topics we want to talk about later. I was watching a series retrospective on the Contra series, and it was like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. And like halfway through it, I stopped and I just like, do you ever have one of those moments where you like question what you're doing and you try and like justify it or like explain it to someone else who has no idea? Just to see like the absurdity of the moment. I was
Like
like,
so you ran sort of a hypothetical or theoretical sort of situation in your head. And you're like if somebody walked into the room right now and said, Josh, what are you doing and why are you doing it?
Hmm.
You were like, how would I answer, propose like, this question? So you,
Yes.
you basically said, like, if somebody came in right now, said, what are you doing?
Hmm.
How would I respond?
Yes. And it was, the fact that I was watching a retrospective series on Contra. And what dawned on me then is that this is such a niche topic, and I like these nerdy things. Like that's kind of my wheelhouse when I go to, and that's probably why this podcast tends to be kind of like a long form, real, like we try and over explain things. Part of it is that we're great at being bad at brevity. There's that, yes, definitely. But I just feel like there's so much to say about a lot of different topics, and so we don't tend to do overviews that well. We kind of get into the nitty gritty of a lot of things, and so that's kind of the type of thing that I like to watch as well. And so watching this video and like realizing what I was doing, it also the thought crossed my mind of like I never had anything close to this growing up.
Yeah.
Like the video game landscape. I mean, okay, there was the stigma of like, yeah, video games are for nerds anyway. That was clearing up, but it's different nowadays. I'm the old man in the room, where
I'm an
it's
old
just
man.
yeah. I mean, it's a little different. Whereas like now you say you play video games and no one cares, but like there was a little bit of a stigma, and just the idea of video games in any other, like outside of the realm of video game, like the idea of making a documentary about video games just sounded completely asinine, for multiple reasons. And so I was just thinking about like what is the type of media that came out, talking about video games, and there's a number of different things, and so just looking at how the landscape has changed is kind of what I wanted to discuss, throw around a little bit here this evening. So to kind of set the stage, I want to ask Nate, what do you remember in terms of like watching shows or movies or anything like that revolved around video? Do you remember anything like that when you were younger?
Um, well, I mean, when I was a kid, there was the Super Mario Brothers Super Show,
Mm-hmm.
which was not great. We've got
Yes.
well, excuse me, Princess,
Yep.
that version. We got that version of Link, which was at the time as a kid, I was like, this is awesome,
Exactly. Yeah, because it's
and
what we had,
yeah,
right? It was
and
like
now I kind
you're
of look at it.
acknowledging a video game.
Yeah, now I kind of look at it as been like, that was hot trash, and I liked hot trash.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had the Super Mario Brothers movie and stuff like
Yep.
that. But like, I mean, as far as like, I remember a few years ago, and it was probably, well, when I say a few years ago, I mean like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was at a buddy's place, and he was like, yeah, we were watching TV, and he was like, have you seen this yet? And he flipped over and he turned on G4 TV.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I was kind of blown away because like here's an entire channel, and of course it only had like 5 programs, and it just
Right.
played like the same 5 episodes all day long. But talk like you had these shows like Attack of the Show and X
Mm-hmm.
Play and stuff like that, where they're talking about game news. They're doing like some game review stuff, just talking to like general nerd culture, that kind of stuff in general. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Um, but I mean, honestly, like sort of like I had a little bit of a joke, but it's like, we used to have a version of watching other people play video games. It's like when my older cousins would come over and basically I would have to watch them play
Mm-hmm.
play my Nintendo,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
it's like when I went over their house and I would have to watch them play their Nintendo. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, and then, for my younger siblings, it was like the Game and Watch was they would watch me play Nintendo, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and but that yeah, I mean, there just wasn't anything even like this. And I remember as a kid, even it's like, like when my cousins were playing, you watched because you were sort of like you were invested in the game, but it was
Hmm.
like I don't know, man. Like I'll be honest, like, and I know it's sort of like the dominant form, the dominant medium, and it's not all that happens with Twitch streaming and stuff like that. But just the idea of watching other people play video games and like their commentary over top
Hmm.
of it, I'm like, one, I don't really have a relationship with that person, and I don't care to like sort of like invest in a false relationship.
Hmm.
It's like I'm an old man. Don't just no. Like
Yeah.
hard path, bud. I got enough friends. Ninja, I don't need your stupid bad haircut, you know, and your crappy dye job with your dumb headband. Um, Sort of like pretending to be like my buddy. Um, but I mean, so I mean, and you and I have talked about like I'm just not big on television, period. Like I
Hmm.
watch a
Yeah.
show or two at a time, if that. And it's like I watching stuff like it basically if the screen's on, it's because like and I'm like I might be watching a movie or a show, but it's
Hmm.
like most of the time if I have the TV on, it's because I'm gonna play a video game.
Yeah.
Like and I don't I mean I've tried streaming too, and it's like I just like there's just I think there's a certain type of person that can talk and play video games at the same time.
Hmm.
I'm not that person. I can barely talk most of the time. So like asking me to talk and play video games at the same time, even games that I know really well, I'm
Hmm.
just kind of like I just kind of like it's very natural for me to just sort of lapse into silence
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but it just doesn't do like I just look at it and it's like it doesn't do anything for me and it is one of those things where it sort of boggles my mind when I my nieces and nephews like they're all jazzed about watching somebody else play a video game and I'm just going
Hmm.
like you could you have a it's like for me I'm like you have a Switch, you have a PlayStation, you could just play that game, you don't have to watch him.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
but yeah, so this is an interesting topic because full disclosure for the audience, Josh and I were sort of joking. The only things I really watch on YouTube are Pitch Meeting, SNL clips, and Ultraman episodes, and that's the bulk of what I watch on. Yeah,
Those are all good things, though. So, I mean,
I
there's
mean,
that.
occasionally I will watch something like the completionist has
Yeah.
made but that's like he sort of does like that in depth, and he talks about like 100%ing games and stuff like that. So,
Right.
but those are even sort of a rare thing for me. And
Hmm.
I used to like Yahtzee uh,
Okay. Okay.
from The Escapist,
Hmm.
but yeah, even there, just that's like yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Not
I just
consistent or
don't have
anything
much.
like that.
I just don't have much to contribute here, just because like I'm just like not super big on it. I'm like
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense to me, and I'm kind of like it's interesting from just a purely theoretical sort of perspective. But
Yeah. Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah. So starting back at where we started, what I had, asked you at first about like what the shows were like when you were younger, I'd say it was really similar for me too. It was like Super Mario Super Show, and it was awesome because I was a dumb kid, and I feel like it was also from the
with
production standpoint.
I feel like if we are going to like, and this is my bad, and I don't mean to interrupt, but if
Mhm.
we are going to reference the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, we need to just say,
The brothers
hey,
put on the brother.
Captain Albano, best live action Mario. Hats off to you, sir.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I did like funny little anecdote. My parents actually really liked the Super Mario Brothers movie, and so we watched that a bunch. And my parents don't like video games in general. So it's funny that they actually enjoyed that movie quite a bit. So I watched it a bunch growing up. So I do have like a special place in my heart, knowing that the movie's garbage, but still enjoying it. So I can't think of that actor's name. Why can't I think of that actor's name? But
I
who
want to say Bob
plays?
Hoskins, but I don't
Yes,
think
there
it's
you
Bob.
go. There
Is it
you
Bob
go.
Hoskins?
Hoskins. Yep.
Oh wow.
He's a really great actor, and I like him in that movie. But yeah, he's not really Mario. None of the characters are really any of their characters.
Listen, anytime you like a casting choice, hey, let's John Leguizamo as
As an
Luigi.
Italian plumber.
I'm like, hmm. Yeah, I mean, he's might be olive skinned, sort of in a way,
Oh my goodness.
but not very Mediterranean at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
and
like just the Mario and Luigi Mario
mm,
thing. I'm just going.
that's bad. That's really bad. Because also, don't they talk about in the movie how like he adopted Luigi, so
Uh,
he's kind of more of his dad than his brother. It's yeah, no,
it's
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 garbage.
hard dumb,
Nothing. Yes, yeah. And the
super
Goombas are
hard dumb.
huge. Why are the Goombas huge? It doesn't make sense.
Well, they're not
Uh,
mushroom people. They're
right.
they're weird dinosaurs.
In the game, a Goomba is a creature with a tiny, tiny body and legs and a big head. In the movie, it's a creature with a big body and a tiny head. Why would you do that? Why do I don't yeah, anyways.
This
Very, very dumb movie.
absolute power corrupts
But
absolutely, man.
yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a an argument for total depravity. The Super Mario Brothers movie. Um, but I think also that kind of goes to my point is that these things that we were given that are even referencing video games, uh, it was well, on the one hand, again, from the production standpoint, I think it was a cash grab. It's like, oh, these video game things are popular. Let's make something like that. But then from the standpoint of a dumb kid, I'm like, oh, these things reference things that I enjoy, so it has to be good, right? Like I have to enjoy it because I enjoy the things that it's referencing, the things that it's talking about. And so even though they were pretty terrible, by and large, anything that was any type of video game on TV, anything covering any video games was not very good quality in general. Whereas you fast forward to today, and there's all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, primarily around YouTube, were more of like the documentary style videos. Because again, I'm coming at this from the point of, hey, I was watching a retrospective on Contra, like this crazy niche topic, where this guy, the guy who's produced this documentary is talking about the history behind it and the games themselves and kind of giving an overview of the different games, the differences between the American versions, the PAL versions, right, the European versions where they're all robots and it's not called Contra, it's called Probotector. Crazy. And then also the differences between the arcades and the home versions and things like that, and how nothing would ever go that deep when I was younger. Maybe it's just there wasn't an audience. I don't know. Part of it's probably because of the way that content is produced nowadays. Even the fact that you call it content, or that I call it in content instead of just like videos or TV or
How
something
much?
like that.
Just a
Mhm.
quick question though. How much of that do you think is maybe just because information, I think, about this stuff is way more accessible?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point
Because I'm
because
I'm telling you, like, if they would have done a show
Mhm.
like that was just like all about like the history of Mega Man when I was a kid and do like weird deep dives into some like I would have been all about that. Or
See, the question though is, yeah, and I don't disagree with you. You would have been all about that. I probably would have too, because it would have had some sort of video game on it. But do you think by and large it would have actually done well? That's the question. Is like
I
I don't
mean I think
know.
dude because well here's the thing. All of the sort of like nascent nerddom,
Mhm.
it was just waiting. Like I mean like dude like legitimately the sort of like the ascendancy of geek culture
Mhm.
has basically, I mean, you're talking about people who would have been sort of prime consumer markets, kids
Mhm.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember
true.
even as a teenager, like we would get, I had friends who would get like video game magazines, and we just pour over them,
Yeah.
like with all like the weird, import export rumors and all sorts of like, just like anything to like,
Hmm.
it wasn't that there wasn't a demand for this stuff,
Okay.
or I honestly think that like, I think honestly looking at it, I think like something like G4 TV came to the table
Hmm.
too late.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I think if it had launched, something like that had launched like 5-10 years earlier,
Hmm.
uh it would have. And I mean, like, yeah, well, and it's weird because G4 is still, they're making a comeback, but it's all going to be like YouTube content now or something like
Oh,
that.
okay. Huh.
I don't know what the deal is, but I'm just like, do we even need that anymore? Like,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I don't think like, because I think what they're gonna try and bank on is like personalities, like
Hmm.
what is it? Well, we got the Adam Sessler, but what's the other one?
Oh, is
The
he coming back? Oh, that's
Yeah,
surprising.
which, and it's like, because like here's the thing, like he's super toxic, and it's not
Oh, is
just
he?
like, he's like, if you check out his stuff on Twitter, I used to follow
Hmm.
him on Twitter,
Yeah.
and then it was like if you tweeted something that he didn't like, he would just like go after people like a loony bin, like
Gotcha.
crazy person, like just nasty, nasty piece of work kind of stuff. So it's like he to me, like there's some serious psychological something that he's not dealing with. But I'm
Gotcha.
trying to think, Kevin. I can see his face. He's got a very strong jawline.
Hmm.
It was host of Attack of the Show.
Okay.
Uh, but like him, that I think they're kind of like hoping that they'll be able to do some like, bank on like, well, we have these personalities, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be enough,
Okay.
but I do have to, like I said, I just do have to wonder that maybe like if something like that hadn't been done on a big network type of level, if there,
Hmm.
I think there would have been a market for it, because I mean, like I said, when you look at just sort of again the ascendancy of nerd culture today, like biggest gross, we talked about them earlier, but the like highest, some of the highest grossing movies of all time, and one of the biggest franchises of all time,
Hmm.
Marvel. Like who read comic books? The same nerds who were reading freaking you, you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Fair
Nintendo
enough.
Power and EGM and whatever, Computer Gaming Monthly, whatever, like whatever. And anyways, that's just a weird side tangent where like,
No, I think that's like exactly where I wanted to go too. Is you mentioned G4 TV, and I've seen a few things from them, and my impression that I've gotten from their type of content is very similar to like, this sounds bad, but like the ad loops that play when you go into GameStop, you know?
oh, those are the best. Let me tell you, as someone who worked for GameStop for a number of years, I hated those then. The few times that I have sullied, the
Mhm,
GameStop door with I've sullied them with my presence.
mhm.
Uh, I just find that you're there for 10 minutes and you've heard the
Ex-
same ad 5 times.
Yeah, that's the problem is it's so dang short in general. But it's like it's not poor production quality. It's higher
No.
production quality. But again, this is my impression. You can correct me if I'm wrong. It seems like it's much more generalized. It's much more like overviews of certain things. Um and which is not again not a bad thing. Again, something I would have enjoyed had I been able to, watch it, been able to actually tune in. But it doesn't fit this same kind of niche, like deep dive type things that are available nowadays. It's much more like broad. It's to like, oh, you play a video game? Okay, you'll be interested in these things, kind of a thing, as opposed to some of the things. Yeah, again, you can go into like you can have the whole Mother series explained to you, but just with a few YouTube searches. and all kinds of deep dive content that again, primarily YouTube is what I'm thinking about because that's where I go to whenever it's basically like whenever I'm doing chores around the house or doing something, making dinner or something like that, I'll just have YouTube going and watching, a number of different content creators. And it's not all video games, obviously, but that's what we're talking about here today. So um, there are a lot, I think kind of I was going to say pinnacle, but that might not be the right word, but sort of the high mark, I would say, if you're into these real like documentary style like deep dives on kind of the history of games is a channel called The Gaming Historian. He has some really good stuff where he has I want to say it's like 30 maybe 45-minute video on the making of Super Mario Brothers 3, and it's fantastic. I mean, it's like seriously the quality that you could get, from like a Netflix quality stuff that he does, and he has a Patreon, and so he's supported that way. But it's that type of content that it's really cool to see how it's gone, just the landscape of watching video, some way of recognizing that other people enjoy video games too. Through video content, like from crazy cartoons to now it's actually like taking these deep dives and learning more about the history and about like different series of video games that you wouldn't have heard about otherwise.
Yeah.
So were you going to say something?
No. Just
Okay.
it is interesting to see where it's going. And like I said, I do sort of appreciate, like, sometimes I want to sort of like dig into, maybe a game's history or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not like, sometimes even when we're talking, like, I've used a few of these, like, again, like the Completionist and a
Yes.
couple others. Like, I've checked out a few of them just to like sort of get some other perspectives. I think it's helpful to
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some, content creators who
Mm-hmm.
don't really pay too much attention to other people in, the same, but there are a couple guys that I listen to that sort of make it a point to not listen to anybody else's
Yeah.
coverage or whatever. And that's fine. That's a take. That's a way to do it. And some of those guys do really well just
Mm-hmm.
because, like, and that's what their audience is after. They're not after. But what I found is that I think it's helpful to come at stuff from like multiple angles. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, and like, I obviously have a perspective about certain things, but even like, you know, it's helpful to sort of like get a different set of eyes. Or sometimes, like, I just want to know a little, like, uh, uh, I'm trying to think, what was the last. I do like the Completionist just because, like, there's a part of me that's like, and here's I guess, like, what I like about his videos is that sort of vicariously I can sort of, enter into the completionist sort of like headspace, and
Mm-hmm.
which there's a part of me that's into that. Like, I mean, like, I've probably mentioned it on the podcast before, but Dragon Quest 8, which is my favorite Dragon Quest, uh, I had easily like 250 hours into
Mm-hmm.
that. I like I did all sorts of like grinding, had like all the best gear, fought all the secret bosses, got the super secret ending, all that stuff. Um, yeah. So but I'm at a point now in sort of just in my life where it's like I don't mind spending that kind of time. I mean, like, dude, like, I dumped, what was it, 80 hours, 70, 80 hours into Hades. So it's like I'm not opposed to like spending time in a game,
Mm-hmm.
but those sort of experiences are few and far between anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they like, you know, yeah. So,
Yeah,
and
man.
It's like there is a way, and I think even for like kids, like, and I was just thinking about it, like, for kids watching someone who's really good at Fortnite, there might be some like they're sort of like watching them to sort of like learn their strategies, but I wonder how much of it is sort of like a like so I live in Western Pennsylvania. We're big. This is like prime Steeler country,
Mhm.
and like one of the things that like I've heard said particularly about Pittsburgh fans, but I think it probably could apply to lots of different football fans. But um, and I'm included in this camp because I like the Steelers.
Mhm.
But it's like sometimes when fans talk about the game, they're like, "Yeah, we really sucked last night." It's like you were on your couch or you were at a bar sucking down chicken wings. Like you didn't suck, the team sucked. But it is that sort of like that vicarious sort of identification there
Mhm.
where it's like maybe by watching somebody like Ninja or who like, Ninja's the only one or PewDiePie. Of course, I don't know if PewDiePie is yeah. Anyways, like that dude's like anyway, but it's like maybe watching somebody like that or like your favorite streamer, it's like you can vicariously sort of experience the thrills of their victories and
Mhm.
losses and stuff like that. I don't know, but or maybe you're just learning like I know for a while when I was trying to like get good at Overwatch, I would watch like
Mhm.
other people play
Yeah.
and then I realized I just had absolutely no time for that. I was like, I'm not going to put in the time to get good at this game.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely an element to it. And I think we're in the same boat with streaming in general, is that neither of us really, well, we don't follow any streamers in general, outside of just like our friends. Hey, if they're playing something, then cool, I'll tune in for a little bit. But that culture, I don't want to downplay it, but I will definitely say I don't understand it either. There's a part of me that's like, okay, in the context of like my friends, I like that person. And so, yeah, it would be fun to check in to see what they're playing.
Yeah.
But to have someone, oh, I play, Rainbow Six Siege, and then go in and just like watch him every time he's playing, that sounds super boring to me. Like I don't want to watch someone playing one game, like a handful of games. And there have been times I say that I think I've talked about it on the podcast before, but like when I was first playing Dark Souls, Game Informer did a whole series on Dark Souls where someone who had never played the game was playing it along with someone else in the room who was really like super into Dark Souls. And so it was fun to like hear their banter, watch him die a ton. And I was watching that like basically I would play and then I would watch up to the point in the game where I had played because I didn't want anything spoiled, but at the same time, like it was fun to watch how someone else did it and something like that. And their banter was really funny. So I could kind of see going back to watch, them play something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, following someone, especially in like an esports context, it's just not my thing. So I can't really say much about it. That kind of thing. Wes mentioned on the Discord about Nick Arcade and how that was kind of like the progenitor of streaming because you got to watch people play video games. Um, I sorry, Wes, I don't really know Nick Arcade. I've heard of it before, but I can't say I've ever watched it, so I'm not too familiar with it. From what I saw, it looked a lot like that movie, The Wizard, at the end of the where you watch the kids playing the games. Which again, that movie is also lumped into those other things that we talked about. I
Hmm.
loved it, freaking loved it as a kid, and it is an hour and a half long commercial. It's really just like shoving games
With
in your like buy
a
these
Super
things.
Mario Brothers 3 reveal at the
Oh,
end.
so cool. Thank you, Fred Savage. But yeah, no, that I still yeah, I'm very nostalgic for that movie. I enjoy it. I did watch that one. Gosh, it's probably been like 7 years ago now, but I did watch it with my wife, and we had a good time watching it. So does it hold up? It holds up knowing that it's like an hour and a half long commercial. So sure, why not? Um, anyways, so streaming, yeah, don't quite understand it, don't get it, but I don't want to say there's like no merit to it because I do think, um, Well, okay, I'll put it this way. I'm of two minds, okay? Because I think that like internet interaction, digital interaction, I don't think is a net negative. I
No,
think there are
yeah, yeah.
good things about internet. Obviously, we do this podcast digitally. But I think it should only serve to bolster real relationships. Not that relationships,
Well,
digital
and that's
relationships
that's
aren't real,
part
but
of no, I think what you're hitting on is like so there are certain like online communities that sort of I'm just gonna okay, like and it's I'm not trying to like throw a ton of shade, but like there's there is an organization, a games media company or whatever, or a bunch of
Mhm.
influencers that call their fans the best friends.
Okay.
And it's like so there is sort of like this inclusive community, and it sort of gives people like a false, in my opinion, like a false sense of intimacy and even
Hmm.
ownership over those relationships. And I think like that's one of my concerns though, is actually
Hmm.
that in a lot of ways that watching these streamers or watching these YouTubers isn't necessarily helpful in the
Hmm.
sense that because like there's that sort of like interaction through the comments or whatever, but it's all from behind screens and it's not legitimate like I don't know. And especially given sort of like all the weirdness surrounding, the pandemic and just all of life in the States over the last year, like obviously like couch co-op is not super duper feasible.
Yeah.
But I do think I would say like even like I mean, even I even approach like online gaming differently. That it's like,
Okay.
I brought up like the Remnant thing with Eric. It's like I'm down for that, but Eric and I have been friends on Facebook and parts of different groups together, and we've interacted multiple times. Like, there's a legitimate friendship there.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not saying like he's like I'm not his like best friend or anything, but like we're
Hmm.
friendly. Like it's like we're probably a little further along than just like mere acquaintances. Like
Yeah.
we've had some like meaningful exchanges and some good conversations and stuff like that, and so it's like I'm down for that. Like down for like a hang sesh with like shooting up the route and like talking to a buddy. Like that's gonna be
Yeah.
cool. But like
Yes.
that exists as a supplement. Whereas I think a lot of times like that stuff actually becomes like the means in which people like sort of grow their communities.
Yes.
And that's problematic to me because there's not actually like legitimate like relationships. I don't want to it's not that the relationships aren't real, but they're not
Hmm.
deep. They're not
Yeah.
grounded. They're not sort of rooted in a lot of uh what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember right now, but they just don't go too far. It's
That I would
they're
say there's not really any commitment there.
yes,
You know,
yes,
like
yes.
there's not that kind of camaraderie where you're side by side with someone. It is different. Not that it can't be helpful. Like it can't. Again, I keep going back. Like we do this podcast digitally. We've never actually met in person, but we're good friends. And we allow this medium to be a way in which we connect with each other. Like we can actually talk deeply with each other. Not
Well,
necessarily on the podcast all the time, but I'm saying like
and
we're
even the sort of like the friendships that we've it's not to say that those things can't like happen,
right, right.
but that should not be normative
Yeah,
either. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I look at the community that we have with the brochachos and even people in the book club and everything else, and on Twitter and like the people that we interact on the regular, like, and it's great. Like, and I'm glad to know those people. But if that's all I had,
Hmm.
that would be a very like scary place for me, I think.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, especially for me, like, it's become increasingly clear to me over the last year that I require like physical camaraderie and
Hmm.
fellowship. Like
Ah.
I need it.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason I've really struggled over the last year is because of like the isolation
Yeah.
and Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I mean that,
Yeah, man.
and just I'm an a-hole.
Well, I mean, there's a lot going on, a lot on your plate, a lot on everyone's plate. Um, I do, dude. That topic, that whole topic of like digital friendships, could be a whole episode in and of itself. That we totally just waded into. So I will say, like, that's not, yeah, it's not final thoughts. It's I don't even know if it was very well thought out. But
Well, it's
certainly.
just sometimes, I mean, we want these, we want the show to sometimes just be a jumping off point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think like the thing is like, just like anything, I think there's really cool things that like the YouTube and Twitch communities bring to the table as far as this
Yeah.
goes. But for me too, like it's always like, it is always kind of this question in such an entertainment centric and saturated culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think these things, just as much as they can be helpful and useful and interesting, can also be very much distractions that will sort of degrade and destroy the things in our lives that we actually need to be cultivating.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Like
Mm. Mm.
this is what I'm going to say to anybody who's listening to this, and if you find yourself sort of neglecting, and this won't be the first time I say anything this, it's probably not even definitely will not be the last. But if you find yourself neglecting like legitimate and like real fellowship and community for the sake of like, you know, a YouTube community or a Twitch stream community or a Discord, like, and if those are like really like those are the people that you're like you know sort of like looking to sort of fulfill and meet those needs, that's empty. And don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because that guy, that Twitch streamer, I remember, so I've because I'm on Amazon Prime, I get like the free Twitch sub, and I try to like
Okay. Yeah.
once a month I try to bounce that around to somebody new. I don't always remember, but Grandmaster Hikaru, who is like one of the chess guys I watch,
Mm.
um, on the Twitch, and it's cool. Like I'll tell you what, it was kind of cool because I like threw in my Twitch sub and I'm watching him play, and it's like, oh hey, got a new sub, thanks Nate McKeever, Nate underscore McKeever or whatever. Oh that's kind of rad. That's kind of cool. Like, and I could definitely like see that like the appeal, and like I get the vibe, and like just to talk about like there's stuff that like our buddy Paul from over the Techno Funk Boy
Mm-hmm.
is I think like the Rusty Speeder, they live stream all that
Yes.
stuff
Yeah.
on Twitch. And like the audience can interact, and like so there's like it's not all bad. Like there's a lot of really cool and good stuff that even some of our friends are like doing on these platforms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, like me being sort of like the grim, dark, pessimistic, old crotchety Ebenezer that I am, it's like, there's also like some parts where we just got to be like, yo, why are we doing this, or why are we consuming this?
Yeah. Well, and I think that that's actually a fantastic kind of note that wraps up this conversation, right? We started out talking about how video games on TV when we were kids were pretty much garbage, right? But I think
Hot Garbo.
hot garbage, yes. As I think about this, really what I wanted was I did want some sort of validation, right? I wanted to know that other people liked these things as much as I did, right? The fact that like, oh,
Mm.
there's a Zelda cereal, I want to taste that right now. Like,
Oh, it's
oh,
not
there's
good. It's not good.
yeah. There you go. Um, there's this Zelda TV show. I have to watch it because I want more of this
Well,
Zelda, but I also
excuse
want
me, princess.
Princess. Yeah, and I do own the entire collection on DVD. I think it was like $3 in the Walmart bin. So I did pick that up just for the laughs, and
You
it
got
is
you got a golf clap on that,
so
buddy.
bad. It's so bad, it's good. It's so bad. Oh, that's another the wizard. Anyways, I think
It's
there is
so
kind of
bad.
this there is kind of this through line of like, yeah, I did want someone else to enjoy these things too, and I wanted to know that like other people enjoyed this. And I think that's part of something that you do get from well, whether it's just lurking on YouTube or whether it is joining in on a Twitch stream and becoming a part of one of these communities, is like feeling like you have that sense of just the community. Like obviously we believe that we were built for community. We were created to live in community. And just based on God's creation, the way that he's worked that in us. And so we're seeking that. And yeah, I think that note of saying that it's a good thing, but that it can be unhealthy if we use it improperly. If we become a follower of someone else, to the point where like we're identifying as, we're identifying with someone that we don't actually know. That can be unhealthy when we have to, when there are these kind of like superficial friendships, which again aren't all bad, but it can come to a place where it's unhealthy. So yeah, I would encourage you to kind of think through why you're doing what you're doing and whether or not it's helpful. So I think that's a good place to just kind of put a bow on it, and that's it for tonight. We tackled gaming, we tackled watching, and if you have any thoughts to add into the conversation, we invite all of your thoughts, and we can kind of kick it around at a later date. I'm thinking I've got another idea for a bite-sized as well, as we're even just discussing this. So, but if you have any thoughts, there's tons of ways you can reach out, and we'll hopefully get back with you because we are real people. Our email address is thebacklogbreakdown@gmail.com. You can join our Facebook group, the hashtag Backlog Book Club on Facebook. We've got a Discord server, and on Twitter, our handle is @BBDownCast. And then if you want to get a little bit more personal, pretty much everywhere on the internet, I go by Broccolope. That's BROCCOLOPE. And Nate goes by.
Nate_McKeever.
All right. If you like what we're doing, there's tons of ways that you can help, support us. Just share us with your friends. Tell other people about the podcast that you
Sharing
enjoy
is
listening
caring.
to. There you go. Review and rates and all that fun stuff on whatever podcast catcher you use. And we do also have a Patreon where at any level, just think of it like a tip jar. And if you throw anything in the tip jar, then we also have our bro hangs and other content that we just it's basically, well, it's called a bro hang. It's because we're just hanging out. We're talking about whatever we want to talk about. And so
And the last couple have been substantial. Like they've been
yeah.
not, maybe not as sort of deep
Hmm.
as we'd like to sort of go, but they have been lengthy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
they've been
That's true.
what we like to call beefy boys. And speaking of watching,
Hmm.
one of the perks is that
Ah.
if you would like to watch the us talking, to each other over Skype, so
Hmm.
video, basically you get to see my dumb face and Josh's handsome face.
Oh,
And
shucks.
you're welcome, buddy. I think I made him blush. You'd know that if you were a Patreon subscriber,
Heyo.
and you could
Oh.
see that YouTube video.
Yeah, full and
just saying.
uncut.
It's but that is locked behind the paywall. But
Mhm.
for any amount, like that's just one of the perks that you can sort of get access to.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. But well, it seems like we have we came, we talked, we did not game, and we did not watch. But we have we I think we kind of set up oh man, I'm talking really good. I'm getting really tired, folks. Just full disclosure, we record pretty late at night.
Mhm.
And when it goes long,
Well, because we talk a lot. Yeah.
because we talk a lot, I start getting a little sleepy. Josh starts getting a little sleepy. We stop making. If we were making any sense before, we're making less now.
Nope.
Anyways, we came, we saw, we conquered, we wenny weedy weechied. We, I think we talked about all the things that we sort of had on the docket for tonight, and then some. We did our thing. What should they do, Josh?
Guys, keep beating down those backlogs, and we'll keep breaking down the benefits.
For sure. And the final word goes to Internet Drama Part 4. Blue cheese has mold in it.